My name is Pat Healy, and I'm the director and also one of the lead actors. I play Ray. Ray runs a business where he specializes in simulated kidnappings for people that want to experience the thrill of kidnapping. So when he's in these simulations, he's really in control, and he's really in charge, and he's really the star of that movie. And outside of that, it's just everything is falling apart. He's not doing well.
He's a wannabe businessman who is actually very broken. He has a big heart, but deep down inside there is a lot of darkness. And I think a little bit of a thrill seeker who kind of gets his rocks off, you know, doing some dangerous stuff.
He gets a call one night from Anna, who's played by Taylor Schilling, who's a high-powered businesswoman.
She's this woman who's in charge of so many people's money, and she has such power in her life, but feels that she has no power in her own world. Nobody wants her. She's missing this connection. It's all very surface, and she's looking for that feeling of being needed, that feeling of thrill and excitement.
She kind of takes him on a ride, and we never really quite are sure what's going on because we have two people who are acting in a simulation that's confusing for both of them.
Her moving from strength to vulnerability and the outlandishness of her life, how she lives sort of so outside of what you and I would probably dictate as normal, and she does that unabashedly, was just so exciting to me.
So I wrote the lead role of Ray with Pat in mind because I'd been a big fan of Pat's for a number of years. I had seen him in Cheap Thrills and Compliance and Great World of Sound, the two Greg Sobel films.
I think it sat in my email for like a couple months, and then finally I just got around to it one day and I went, oh my God. The story is just really compelling, and it's really funny, and it has a lot of twists and turns, and it has a lot of tension and suspense and everything in it.
The one really great thing about the script for Take Me was that it was very clearly written for Pat, so it does allow him to play a little bit to a character that is familiar to him, but it also is challenging him to think on multiple levels, and on top of that, to have to direct the film, there's so much for his brain to be processing at every time.
It's really good to have a plan in place so that you know exactly what you're doing, but it's also really great to be super open to what happens on set. The way I think about it is you build the box to play in, but what happens in there is, you know, anyone's guess. I encourage everyone to take risks.
Pat has watched more movies than anybody I've ever known. He has such a catalog of movies in his brain and has really been thinking about the films he wants to make as a director for so long that it comes very naturally. His conversations with his DP and his production designer, I think he's been playing out those conversations for years, even before he read the script of Take Me.
Not only is Pat directing Take Me, but he's also basically acting in every frame of Take Me, which doing both of those things is an extremely challenging task to take on. So he's putting a lot of trust in me as the director of photography to be able to be there on the day, on the set, while he's concentrating on being Ray.
Film is collaborative, sure, but in this sense it feels even more collaborative because we're attacking certain questions from an artistic point of view and also a technical point of view and also a, you know, what's best for everyone approach. What helps with that dynamic is that it makes it feel like it really is a project that belongs to all of us because there's not that one person saying, yes, no, this is what it is, this is not what it is. It feels very much like, all right, let's put all our minds together. How do we approach this? How do we make this work?
I'd made some shorts earlier on, but I don't know the first thing about putting together an independent film as a producer. So I knew a few people, and one of them were Mark and Jay Duplass, and so I wrote Jay Duplass an email. And I said, I have this script and I'm thinking I might want to direct and act in it, but I'm not sure.
Pat calls me later that night and he's like, so I sent the script to Jay Duplass and they want to talk about it tomorrow. What do you do after that? Because that's the best news ever.
I'm a big fan of Mark and Jay Duplass. So Mark called me and said, there's a character that I'm excited for you to look at.
She was the first person that we went out to for the Anna role, and she said yes, I believe within like a day of reading the script.
Taylor is an actress with an eye for filmmaking, and by that I mean she wants to continue to push herself as a storyteller, not just as an actress.
Taylor constantly surprises me with what she's going to do. she'll do a take where she's crying and you're so upset for her, and then she's yelling at me and it's terrifying, and then she does something hilarious, like all within one take, which is really like a difficult thing to do as an actor.
We are putting Taylor in a lot of sensitive situations. She is being tied up, she's being beaten, she is having to go through the ringer, and I think it's been really great for her to have a really strong female presence on set, and that's really allowed her to push herself.
I have had some jobs where I feel like I have a family in the cast, and this is definitely one of those. There's something that happens in the alchemy of the different people coming together. And
I don't even want to call them a support team because they are helping me direct the movie, in the entire crew, but especially with Mel Eslin and the producer, and Nate Miller, the cinematographer, who are my eyes and ears.
I wanted to bring a crew that I already had a shorthand with so we could all be that much more supportive for him. So bringing in an AD team that I love and I've worked with forever, Drew Langer and Emily Newman, bringing in Nate Miller, who is a great DP that I love working with, and then bringing in new people, like Angel Herrera, our production designer, is like my new favorite find. One of my favorite things that Angel brought to the table was this idea of a grid system that is continually present in the visuals of the film.
That idea of a grid and the idea of like geometry and symmetry translates throughout the whole world. You see it in Anna's office, you see it in Natalie's house, definitely see it in Ray's house a lot.
Because Ray's life was so disorganized, except when he designs these kidnappings, that the rest of his surroundings, they're a little dilapidated. It's sort of his way of keeping order in his life.
Pat and I just had a constant dialogue about the aesthetics that we liked personally and that we felt were right for Take Me.
The script to me felt like partially a noir, and I like a lot of the 70s noirs, and a lot of movies from that era that are shot in widescreen anamorphic, and Gordon Willis shot a lot. He was called the Master or the Prince of Darkness, so like, you know, there's a lot of shadow, a lot of dark, which fit in with our color palette of the cooler colors and things like that. And then there's the screwball comedy element, which is, it's a comedy, not a tragedy, but it's characters who, through their best efforts, only make things worse for themselves. That was the idea, to see if we could marry those two things together, because I feel like at this point, visually and narratively, it seems like everything's been done, and the only way to get around that is to sort of Bob Dylan it and take things that don't go together and see if they work together.
What I love is when you can take two people and it's an intimate story, but turn it on its head or push it past the four walls. It was at a time when I was looking for something different to bring to the Duplass brothers for their slate, and Take Me was vastly different. It involved two people, but in a different way, with different twists and turns. A thriller element that we don't normally explore in that world. Everything aligned, and it just made sense for us to make Take Me as a Duplass brother film.
this is a movie where we're pretty much living, sleeping, working, eating together. And it's a very specific experience and so powerful.
It's so exciting. I love movies so much. I always have. That's the reason why I'm an actor, why I became an actor, is because I love movies. So really directing and feeling like it's probably something that I'm going to do again, unless this is a total disaster. But it doesn't feel that way, so.